Guest tonight to discuss the explosive report on the FBI investigation into Russia collusion, the agency appearing to have violated its own rules and using informants before a formal investigation was ever launched. Joining us here tonight, John Solomon, opinion contributor for The Hill. It is great to have you with us, John. The FBI violating its own rules. It is a new context. It is a new offense, but it's apparently a long list of offenses just waiting to be explored here.
Well, the Bureau has had a great history of solving a lot of great crimes. It's also had a history of some black eyes at different times in our country. I think this is I have some breaking news for you, though, tonight. Just before I walked in here, I just found out that the intelligence chief, the counterintelligence chief for the FBI, Bill Priestap, is going to be on Capitol Hill tomorrow for the first time to answer questions about both the Hillary Clinton email case, he oversaw that, and the Russia-Trump case, which he also oversaw. He was Peter Strzok's boss, so he was the guy that oversaw the guy with all the text messages. And I think tomorrow's going to be a pivotal day. I think Congress is going to learn a lot of new information tomorrow during these interviews.
And the implication that you're making, it seems, or at least the inference I'm drawing, is that he is going to be speaking candidly about his employer, the FBI, and those who were running the agency during that period.
Yeah, and he was one of them. He was an assistant director for counterintelligence, so he's very high up, had all a bird's eye view of everything that went on in both of these investigations. Even questions like James Comey, did anyone in the FBI know he was sharing classified memos with his lawyers? Those are the sort of things that are going to get asked tomorrow.
Sharing classified memos with his lawyers, a special employment relationship with one of them at least. It's the FBI. Let me ask you as we continue this discussion, do you believe that the FBI will soon recover from this, you referred to a black eye, that seems somewhat, to me, diminished and less profound than perhaps the damage that I see in that agency?
Yeah, listen, they recovered from 9/11. If you remember, I did a lot of the reporting 15, 16 years ago about what the FBI knew and dropped the ball before the worst terrorist attack in American history. They'll come back. There's lots of good people there that care, including people that have talked to me about the concerns they have in the Russia case. And it will come back. It'll come back stronger. But right now, there's still a lot of accounting. We don't even know the nature of the black eye yet. We're still learning. We know that there was some actions by these informants before there was a formal investigation. We don't know whether they were controlled or not. So until we get all the facts in place, I don't think the FBI can, one, address what it did wrong and try to correct what it did wrong until we know everything on the table. Transparency has always been one of the Bureau's toughest issues.
And talking about the problems of their own making, the corruption within the leadership itself, we learn now the Department of Justice Inspector General report has been deferred another week. The Judiciary Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, putting up that hearing, and this goes on and on. It is one form of slow walking. Let's be very clear. If this agency has not learned how to produce a report after a thorough investigation in under a year, there's something terribly, terribly wrong that permeates the entire agency, in my opinion.
The IG did its work, right? And it's been sitting in this review process, and every week we hear it's coming out and then it gets kicked down the road. Not uncommon when there's a lot of classified information. People are going to be arguing over what can be released publicly, what needs to remain redacted. But I do expect that it's going to come out. I know it's more than 400 pages. That means there's a lot to talk about James Comey if there's 400 pages in that report.
Absolutely. And speaking of slow walking, the expression is synonymous with Rod Rosenstein and the leaders at the Department of Justice. We don't even mention Jeff Sessions' name anymore because he's not even a titular head. He is a specter in the halls of justice. Your thoughts about Rosenstein and the ways in which Congress can once again assert its oversight responsibilities, and they are responsibilities laid out in the authorities of the Constitution, but they are fundamentally responsibilities.
Yeah, listen, I talk to a lot of people in the Justice Department, even people that like Rod Rosenstein, and here's one thing they say: he's clearly a witness. If Bob Mueller is investigating obstruction of the president, firing Comey, even though he had the right to do so, if he's investigating that, Rod Rosenstein wrote the memo, he has to be a witness. How could a witness with a conflict of interest still be in charge of the investigation? That's one of the issues when I talk to my sources in the Bureau, comes up all the time.
And let me ask you this as we wrap up, Rod, because you and I have not talked about this. I'd like to get a sense from you. what would happen if Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and others in the Republican Party stood up and said to the special counsel and to the country, this is over. This special counsel is done. Almost a year investigation by the FBI of the ghost-like suggestion of collusion on the part of this administration, when everything that has been turned up in the investigation by first the FBI, then the special counsel investigation for more than a year now that has supplanted that, and for whom the FBI investigation was a foundation, nothing has been turned up that suggests anything but Democratic collusion, Democratic crimes of corruption within the leadership of the FBI and the Justice Department. Not a single mention of President Trump.
We're in the 500th day of President Trump's presidency, and there's still not a public piece of evidence that says there was collusion. I think something important is going to happen soon. I think when this IG report comes out, if it lays out the wrongdoing or mistakes that James Comey made at the FBI, it's going to affirm the president and, quite frankly, Rod Rosenstein's memo, the decision to fire Comey, and that's going to make it look a lot less like obstruction and much more like a personnel performance issue, and I think that's going to be something that changes the dialogue. I keep an eye on that. I think this thing is actually winding down on some fronts. You look at the questions that the president's lawyers are given, not a single one about collusion with Russia.
Right.
That's a sign that Bob Mueller doesn't think there's much there.
Well, in that, Bob Mueller joins the, I believe, the vast majority of Americans at this point. John, we thank you for being with us as always. Thank you very much.